It's Michael White, and here's my co-host.
Anthea Morphetis, good to see you all again.
Yeah, guys, it's just been a whirlwind, but things happen, but you make them work, right? And season three and starting season three off was very important to both of us. Even though we had some technical difficulties, we said they need to hear this information.
Yes, indeed.
Um,
And I'm glad we're back and I'm glad we're doing this and we're not giving up. So I always say the third time lucky, and this is our third time. And
yeah,
the luck is in Michael. We have a nice, easy ride here with a fantastic um, load of information and a great conversation that I'm looking forward to.
yeah. So we're gonna roll out this one. We're gonna do a two-parter on this one because this one's it's not a long video, but it's a two-parter. But we're actually gonna roll out what we're gonna be talking about for season three, actually, and what makes season three different than our other seasons. So with all that being said, I'm actually going to share a few things with you guys, and then we'll jump into that. So, um, number one, number one is look, guys, we're actually going to be promoting BetterHelp Therapy. They're an online service where you can go and get therapy. It's totally outside of us. It's confidential. It's private. It's going to be on all of our links. I'm a huge advocate for it. For some people, it works. For other people, it doesn't. But if you're trying to either a save your relationship, b trying to get into a better place in life, there is no harm and no shame in going to therapy. One of the biggest things that the reason why we're actually doing this is because on a lot of we're not even trying to look at other channels, but a lot of times they'll tell you go get help, but they won't point you in the direction where to get the help. And that's the problem, right? Because it's like you need to be able to guide them, especially if they're looking up to you and saying, they're listening to your content, they're engaging to it. Point them in the direction of where they need to go, to places that they can trust, to get therapy. As I said, it's completely outside of us, um, for you guys to get the help that you need. You know what I mean? Not everybody needs it. Some people do, but it's having the option there, knowing that you can go and get the help you need if you need it. So we're definitely providing that. Um, Down below, also, there's also a donation link as well. You'll see it in the bio. You guys can donate to our channel. Now, all funds don't go to us, they go to the channel, to get better microphones, to get whatever. So, whatever you guys feel comfortable donating, it is fully a donation. It's not for us to use for our personal gain, it is literally for us to give you a better quality podcast.
Yes. And that's what we're here for. We're here to give you the best quality and just the best that we can, really. And that's why when the technical issues do come along, we don't just give up on it. We want to keep going because we know what we can bring. And it's so important to have these conversations that we have. And we are very organic. We don't have a script that we work with. And we speak truly from our heart and through our experiences and to where we are today, to where we're going, right?
I would agree with that. I think our intention literally is just to, because me personally, like I know Anthea is a coach, but me personally, I'm not a coach. I am just a conversationalist. So what that means is I like to open up dialogues and conversations that allow people to share thoughts and ideas for them to either move further in their personal life or in a relationship. That's how I kind of view it. So with that being said, we have one more thing to share with you guys, and then we will get started in today's video. We actually have a new promo video actually just for you guys, going forward. So hopefully you guys enjoy, and then we will get into today's topic. So that is our new promo video, guys. I love it. It's fantastic. It fully represents us. Um, I know we've been talking about the clothing line a lot. It just really takes a lot of time to build one. It is literally almost complete. It's just smoothing out the details because, again, we want you guys to buy with comfortability. We want you guys to buy with safety and comfortability when you buy our clothing. So we want to make sure that we cross all our T's and all our I's before we give the product to you, to allow you to purchase it. So yeah, that's pretty much it on that end. But we are actually going to get into today's video, actually, which I think is super important for all couples, or especially if you're considering getting into a relationship. Uh, I think it's important that everybody listen to these things. And when I mean listen, because a lot of times people will listen, but they won't hear you. So you'll tell them something like, yeah, I hear you, but they're not taking into consideration what you've said. Like, oh, okay, they feel this way about this. Or, hey, this is what they need from me to function in the relationship. So I believe that, a lot of times we really have to listen.
Hmm.
Like,
And
we have to.
also,
Go ahead.
no, I was going to, sorry to cut you there. I was going to say
Mm-mm.
it's not, it's also listening, but then a lot of people, what they do, Michael, is they will hear what's being said and they know that there's these signs to their relationship that's breaking down and it's not going to work, but they make up an excuse for their particular situation to say, well, I know that's happening, but, or
Mm-mm.
however. And actually, if that's happening and there's a multiple of signs happening, then it's not going to work and it will break down at some point. And it doesn't matter how much you try and sugarcoat it and try and make it seem that it doesn't relate to you because you're fearing walking away from the relationship. It will eventually come to a point where it breaks down, or you'll just be miserable within your relationship because you're not really identifying and really getting to the core issues of what's happening.
I agree with that. Being able to identify that, and what's interesting about this video today is even being able to identify the problem. Like, even before you date someone, you're gonna see he's not telling you to run away, but identify it. Have the conversation. So, uh,
Yes.
we're actually gonna get into the video. I'm gonna mute my mic so you guys can hear what Mr. Stefan Labrossier has to say. The video is gonna be tagged down below for you guys to watch the full thing. So I'm really looking forward to what he has to say on this subject.
Belong together. And I've noticed in coaching so many individuals some very clear signs that say this relationship is going to fail. All right. But many people have either become unaware of these things or seem to want to overlook and push past it because you've been led to believe that this is normal. Who doesn't go through this or that? You basically try to move past these red flags only to have those same red flags end the relationship. So, what are some of these signs? Well, one of those signs is sexual incompatibility. Now, I know some of y'all are thinking, wait a minute, how do we know we're sexually incompatible unless we have sex? And technically, we should be waiting, right? Well, listen, number one, you don't have to have sex to discover that you two are not compatible, all right? Or that there's even a foundation for compatibility. I believe that many people have their perception of sex, it's misguided, all right? So what do I mean by that? Essentially, listen, if we would just sit and talk to each other, we could discover very early on if this can really go anywhere sexually. And we have to understand it's important to have that discussion because we can't have this mindset of, oh, well, sex doesn't really matter. It's not important. Listen, for the health of a long-term relationship, and especially specifically marriage, sexual fulfillment is very important. All right. And there's several layers. I'm going to try not to go through every single last one, but I'm going to highlight some very important ones you need to understand. All right. Now, real quick, before I get to that, sexual incompatibility. Let me give you an example. Let's just say you're a woman or man who likes certain sexual behaviors in the bedroom. All right. You're very open sexually. Maybe you're into some kinky stuff, right? And these things are important to you. Like, it isn't just I like to do it here and there. Like, no. My sexual experiences aren't fulfilling unless I have this kinkiness involved. So now you're dating someone, you're getting to know someone, or you're getting a relationship with them. And many people, in fear of scaring off this partner or talking about too much too soon, will withhold this information. But it makes no sense, because if you let it be known, I'm into that type of stuff, and that person from the jump can say, oh, hell no, I'm not with it. What are we trying to make work here? There's no way this relationship is going to succeed.
Damn. See, look, let's talk about it. Let's be grown about it right now. We're all adults here. The topic of bedroom fun is going to come up. It needs to be had of what you need to feel fulfilled in the relationship. Let me say it again. It needs to be had, that conversation, because a lot of times, and I've noticed this too, that someone will tell you what they need, they'll ignore it and focus more on their needs. So then you're in the relationship and you're sitting there thinking like, hey, I told them I need this. They still haven't done anything about it. And they keep gravitating it towards their needs.
Yes. And actually, what happens is in stuff like that, eventually someone's going to build resentment.
You know
Someone's
what?
going to naturally build resentment, because if you've had a discussion and you've said, this is what I enjoy, and let's say you haven't had the discussion before you've got it, you haven't vetted this person, you're in a relationship, you're there already, it is what it is, and then you start, and then you're getting into the bedroom fun side of things, and you voice what you like, and the other person says, I'm not into that at all. Then you've got to then make a decision that, are you going to go without that because you're looking at a relationship for the rest of your life, or you're not just looking at a relationship for the time being and then that's it, because that's not really a relationship, right? So let's talk about it long term. So then you've got to, then you're in this relationship, and then you've got to think, now, am I willing to not have that in the bedroom for the rest of my life because this person doesn't want it? So this is why we say, if you go back to other podcasts that we've done, and it's about vetting the relationship before you get into it, it's so important, because you're going to come to a point where things are going to open up, and you're going to see things and you're going to hear things, and if the other person doesn't want the same as you, then what are you going to do? That's the thing of saying, well, I'm going to accept not having A, B, C, or D, because A, B, C, or D, my partner doesn't want that. But you didn't talk about that first. That's why communication is so important, right, Michael?
Well, I agree with you. And that's the problem. That's how you get stuck, right? Because think about it. Let's say you're getting to know someone and you've told them that you need this, right? And you're like, hey, I need this. And the person still, because think about it, if someone claims to care about you and you've told them your need, like, I need this, and they're still like, oh yeah, okay, but they're not digesting the information and saying, hey, okay, I'll deliver this because this is what they need. What they're telling you, and again, what they're telling you is they don't care about your needs. That's exactly what it is they're telling you.
And
Fulfill
so many
my
people
needs
just brush
only.
it off.
Exactly. Fulfill my needs only, and I'll think about your needs.
Yes. And it's such a brush off thing. So many people just think, like Stefan said, he said, people just go, oh, everyone goes through this, or there's always a
Yeah.
reason and an excuse. But in the core, in your deep core of your being, that it's not going to work, it's not right for you. But you still try and sugarcoat it. It's like, stop doing that. Put yourself in that. I think it comes back down to the first thing that we spoke about on when we when we were saying season 2. I think we said the
Yeah.
first thing is, it's all about self-love. And I think if you have that self-love and that self-respect, then you're gonna honor your wants, needs, and desires. And if someone else isn't honoring your wants, needs, and desires, then that is a red flag. And I mean, if it's something really small that you just really does makes no like difference, you
Yeah.
really can have that. You know, you're gonna have there's a balance also. So it's not like everything, but if it's the core things of what you believe and what you want and what you desire in a relationship, and that person is not giving it to you, and you can see that, stop brushing it off. It it
Well, I'm
gets
going to bring up
nowhere.
something interesting. And again, I'm going to go a little hard. You shouldn't have to tell somebody twice.
Right.
If you, because again, and again, this is not an insult to somebody. You're not a child. I shouldn't have to tell you more than once, especially if I've told you that I need this. This is a need for me. And you're not a child. I shouldn't have to repeat myself multiple times. It's like, just don't do it. I'm not saying
Absolutely.
you're a child, but I'm saying having a childlike mind.
Yes.
If you are not into that, just say so.
Mm-hmm.
If you
Yep.
don't like that, just say it.
And if you're going to do something just to please the other person and you actually don't like it, then again, you're going to build resentment with that, because you're doing
Freedom.
something that actually doesn't resonate with you, but you're too scared to say what you want to say, because you fear that the person might your partner might walk away from you. But
Mhm.
actually it doesn't matter if they walk away from you. They weren't for you. It
They
was an
weren't for
experience.
you,
It was
exactly.
right, and it was for you to learn in that experience and to actually build that confidence to be able to speak up, because so many people do lack that confidence, Michael, right? Like, you think about the confidence to be able to say what they really want to say, and they don't say it, so they
Well,
just
I'm
stay
going to say
quiet.
this,
And
and sorry to cut you off. A
no, go
relationship
for it,
has
go for it.
no room for selfishness, but you should be selfish with your needs.
Yes.
It
Oh
has
my
no
goodness,
room
I
for
totally agree
selfishness,
with that.
but you should be selfish with your needs.
Yes.
So, and that's why, as I said, everything needs to be happily discussed, as in a sense of what is a healthy sex life to you. 2, 3 times a week. What all this needs to be put on the table so the person knows what they're getting into.
Yes.
You need to give the person a choice to say no. So we'll let Mr. Stefan continue on in his thoughts. And
It doesn't matter if you guys get along great. It doesn't matter if there is a high level of attraction. If you two are not on the same page sexually, you guys are going to now experience a huge disconnect in the relationship going forward. And that disconnect will now start to turn into other issues. So that disconnect can turn into you and that individual going elsewhere for sexual fulfillment. So clearly, cheating, infidelity of any kind is going to now bring down that relationship. It will ensure its failure. All right. But even if you're like, you know what, I don't like this, but I'm not a cheater. I'm not going to go out there and cheat. Okay, cool. But you not getting what you feel you need and fulfilled sexually will lead to resentment, will lead to in some cases anger, frustration. And what happens is that starts to pour into other areas. Now, when you talk,
I actually want to touch on what he said.
Mm.
If you cannot fulfill that person's need, don't get up. I would never condone cheating. Never in a million years. But what I'm saying is, if you've had the conversation of what you need sexually, and the person tells you, "Hey, I can't do this," no, you move on. Because the thing is he's pretty much saying, is if you still say, "You know what? Let's just be together anyways.
Mm.
Let's just be together anyways." You don't get what you need, you end up looking for it somewhere else
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they're
because
going to
the
be together
relationship's
and not
lacking.
happy. It's not happily together, is it, Michael? And that's the thing.
Exactly. It's not
And when
happily together.
right, and it's not that everything's going to be like just like lots of roses smelling good, and
No.
the relationship is going to be this beautiful, no matter what happens, everything is just hunky-dory. No, we're not saying that, but there is, it does lead to resentment, and it really does. And I think so many people will relate with this and could possibly be stopping and thinking to themselves, really thinking about their relationships, because it's not just about dropping a person and moving on and that's the end of it.
No.
But if you're having those deep and meaningful conversations, and you're communicating, and you're putting out the right, you're as in, when I say the right, as in you're actually doing the things that you've heard, you've listened to podcasts, you've listened to people, you've been to therapy, you've done all this stuff, and it's still not fulfilling your needs, and you're not fulfilling their needs, let's say, then you're just making excuses why you should stay together. It doesn't need to be that way. There's 7.5 billion people on this planet. There's someone right for everybody. And it's not a failure if your relationship doesn't work out. It's that you've met somebody, you've gained experience, and now you have you have the wisdom to move on and be able to vet the next person properly, and take that time out before you enter into a full on relationship, right?
Yeah, like we're not telling people to just sleep with everybody willy-nilly, but we're trying to
No.
help you understand that in a relationship, there's multiple topics that he's talking about here, but we're going to try to keep it on the bedroom fun one. Just this one, we're almost done. Is that the fact is, if you're not into something or it's something you need, be with someone that will want that same need as you.
Yes.
That's what it comes down to, because now if they like what you like, they're giving from a place of peace.
Yes.
That's the problem. They're giving, and that's not the problem. That's a good thing, but they're giving from a
Yes.
place of peace. That's the
Yes.
thing. But when you're dealing with somebody that's not into what you're into, they're giving from a place of, I'll just do it to make him happy. There's no peace behind that. There's no like, oh, you know what? I genuinely
Goodness.
like that. You guys are on the same page.
Yes. And it's so
So,
important to be on the same page in a relationship for, the majority of the time. I'm not saying it's going to be like that all the time, but especially in the bedroom, I think that's where you build your connection even more so, right? That's where you
well,
really combine together, right? Your energies, everything comes together and become one in the bedroom. So
well, let's be
if you're
honest,
not,
right? There's a lot of sexless marriages. You know what I mean?
yeah,
That's a problem.
or women withholding sex from a man
Mm-hmm.
because they want to get back at them for something, and they give them the silent treatment, and they don't give them the sex side of things because they want to punish them. But what do you think that does to the other person?
Let's
How does
take it
that
even
make your
higher.
partner feel, right?
Let's take it even higher. It's sometimes they won't even do it to punish. They'll withhold sex to make you do something.
Yeah.
They'll say, "Well, if
Yes.
you clean the kitchen, I'll give you bedroom fun."
It's like,
What?
why is there a condition like that?
Yeah, it's like, what? Okay.
Yeah.
Because obviously, as a man, men want sex, so he's gonna clean the kitchen. But you're using that to get him to do what you want,
Yeah, and that's
and
manipulation. I think we said this
that's
before. That's
manipulation at
pure.
the point, right?
Yes.
Because now you're saying, well, if you do this, I'll give. Like, no, like it's either you
No.
want it or you don't. So,
Yeah.
um, one thing that we are gonna cover, and again, this is a little side note, is because some people internationally go look for their spouse, right? Because some people are like, yo, I'm tired of dating like westernized culture. I want to date like outside. If you're going to do that, because some people do. I know a lot of people that have dated like, they were living in one area and the person lived like way over there. It's a lot harder because of the sexual component, but find a way for you guys to meet in the middle where you can still have that connection. I'm not against it. I know a lot of guys are, or girls, but if the connection is there and it's strong, I'm not just talking about where the person is just like, oh, I kind of like you. I'm talking like full blown, they blow your top off. Like you are just like, who is this individual? I think it should be explored, but also understood from also a sexual component, that because you guys can't see each other often, obviously there's a plan in play for you guys to see each other. But I think that, to keep the relationship alive, if it's going to be one, that you guys need to have that component and connection to either do something. Maybe you're doing FaceTimes all the time. Maybe you're doing whatever to keep the relationship solid. So I just wanted to add that if you guys do want us to cover long distance dating, I've never done it. I'm totally fine with it. But I'm saying if you guys want us to cover it ever in a video, please just put a one in the chat.
Cool.
So yeah, we'll keep going. Hear what he has to say.
To them, you may have an attitude because in reality, you're frustrated that you can't get what you need sexually. One way or another, it starts to have a huge negative impact. And again, if you sit down with enough couples, one of the things that creates a lot of problems in relationships is sexual incompatibility. Now, understand this. I'm a firm believer that the reason why sex is designed the way it is from a biological perspective and even spiritual perspective is because it is intended to help us bond and come closer together. All right. So it is a mechanism of greater connection, attachment, whatever you want to call it. It helps two people stick together. And let me be more specific. When the sex is great, all right? If it's bad, that's a whole different thing. But great, good sex strengthens a relationship, period. Now, for some people, it unfortunately keeps them in bad relationships or contributes to it. But when it's a healthy, good relationship and you can add great sex on top of it, oh, those two people ain't going nowhere. So knowing that it's designed for that, if you remove that from the relationship, you remove a huge piece of the puzzle that creates success. This is why it cannot be ignored. It's extremely important. So again, we've got to, I'm not saying have sex with every person you date. I'm not saying that sex needs to be of the highest priority in the relationship, but I am saying we need to make sure we are on the same page, because if we are not, that relationship is going to fail. Plain and simple. Oh, and one more thing about this sexual incompatibility before I move on to the next point. I've seen so many relationships, and I have to say this, especially I've seen this with women, where women will meet a nice guy, a great guy, you really like this guy, but things are lacking sexually. Now, before I finish that point, I'm jumping around a little bit here. Let me also highlight this. I actually believe that having sex with each other too soon can in many cases actually blind you from the sexual potential in the relationship. And I say that because in many cases, and more specifically in cases where people have genuine feelings for each other, are genuinely interested, a lot of times individuals, man or woman, can get nervous, have performance anxiety. There are different things that contribute to them not being able to be fully present in the sexual experience, therefore translating into a subpar or bad experience. And people, because we live in this microwave society where they expect each other to be of a certain sexual level right away with each other, if it's lacking, that will then be used as a reason to say, you know what, I can't make it work here. When in actuality, it wasn't that it could not work, it's that it just needed some time for the person to become comfortable, for people to get better know each other, because the reality is that, listen, sex ain't rocket science here. We can learn it. We can get better. There has to be a willingness to, and there has to be a gaining of information and knowledge and wisdom about each other, what our likes are, what works, what doesn't work, so that we can make the experience a lot better. But again, people moving too fast can sometimes give a false representation. It can create a perception that things won't be good that could actually be great, but it can also create the false representation of great sex that will not last, because those two people don't have the core ingredient, which I will mention at the end of this video, the core ingredient that ensures long-lasting, high level of sex within a relationship. And so what you're seeing initially is that person's desire to put on a great performance. that person's desire to want to impress you. A lot of people want to put out their best work early on, but what they need to be able to keep that up isn't actually there. And that's why you see it fall off. So many people who get involved sexually very soon start to notice things waver off in that relationship as things go along. And some people love to think or want to believe it's because, oh, well, that's what marriage does. Marriage kills the sex. No, marriage didn't kill the sex. If anything, there was something already missing, and marriage may have more exposed that issue that was missing. But to get back to the point I wanted to add to this was, I see a lot of women meet a guy, great guy, like him, sex isn't that great, and convince yourself that, you know what, I don't want to let go of this amazing guy, this great guy, because the sex, so I'm going to hold on to him, even though he doesn't fulfill me sexually. And it might also be because, well, you haven't really been fulfilled sexually by any of the men that you've been with before, so to you, it's par for the course. I get it, but again, you got to ask yourself, can you really deal with this in the long term? And can you still be willing to pour into him sexually if you're not getting what you need from him sexually? Because that's the key. It's not about can you deal with this and still hold on to this great guy. It's can you accept this at a level that allows you to still show up for him sexually in the way that he needs you to? Because the reality is that if you are not satisfied, you are less likely to want to consistently satisfy him.
Okay, he said a lot there.
Mm.
See,
I
you
think
need
the
to
end point was really big, wasn't it? Can I just say?
yeah. If you want to speak on it, go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Yeah. Just to him saying that right at the end, he just said it. It comes to a point where you don't want to satisfy him, and that's where the silent treatment comes in, the not
Mhm.
giving, and then it's a war, isn't it? It becomes a
What he
war
said, you
zone.
have to feel comfortable knowing that if you're going to give to him or her sexually, that they're not going to give it to you sexually yet, and feel comfortable with that. That's what it comes down to. Is can you still pour into them willingly and peacefully, knowing that it's not coming yet, but it will come? Because for some
Big,
people,
right?
that's where their resentment comes. Is they're like, okay, I'm giving you this, this, and this, but the person's not reciprocating in that area, especially when you've had the conversation or spoken about it. Um, I need you guys to understand one thing, though, and he said it, and I'm glad he did. Sex is not the cornerstone, but it is a key component.
Mm, of course it is. It is,
It's a key
you know,
component.
yeah, because that's what we're made for in that sense. It's like there's a reason why, babies are made.
Well,
Oh,
he's saying don't
there's-
ignore it, man. Like it's a like because again, and I'm not knocking women. They'll say, well, all he wants me for sex is all he. If you vetted him properly and you know he's a good guy and you've done your work, he's going to want sex. He is a
yes.
man.
And if you feel like he only wants you for sex, then understand if that's what you're feeling and that's what you're thinking, then, and that's what it is. Don't ignore what it is. Then he's not for you. If that's what he only wants you for, and you know he only wants you for sex, then that's not a relationship. So why
No,
would you
of
even say
course
it and
not.
then go and moan about it? At the end of the day, if you know that already, then what's the hold up, and why are you staying with somebody who only wants you for sex? But like Michael said, yes, sex is a big component, it's one of the key components to a great relationship. But if you feel your man only wants you for sex and there's nothing else behind it, then and you want a relationship that's not what you want, then you haven't vetted the man and you're with the wrong person.
Well, I'm gonna say this, and then because I think he's pretty much done wrapping this up, is if the man checks off all your boxes, and that's the problem. Like this whole checklist thing, like vetting is very simple. Everyone's gonna have their key components of what they need. I'm gonna say for me, Michael White, the person needs to because for Anthea it's gonna be different. For Michael White, the person needs to love God. They need to be coachable. They need to be able to take correction. They need to be feminine, and lead with femininity and gentle. Those are my 4 key components. Everything else can be worked out. Now, obviously, like some things you're like me, like yo, like if she's like a frivolous spender or whatever, we need to, that might be a red flag. But my key component ones for me to be in a relationship with you, engage with you, are my key components. Everything else will work it out. So, to show you guys an example, Anthea, what are your 4 key components for you to be in a relationship with an individual?
Communication is probably one of the biggest ones. To be able to
Okay.
communicate, um, to has to have that the masculine energy, a
Okay.
leader, um, and to me, definitely needs to be a sexual person, not somebody who
Okay.
wants sex just once a month.
Okay.
And just, I mean, in the sense of kind and loving and attentive, just wants, listens listens to my needs, listens to what I want.
Okay. So those are your 4 key
Yeah,
components. Like for you to deal with a man, he needs to be able to exude, like for you to be like, oh, you know what, I'll go on a date with him. He needs to be able to exude those 4 principles, correct?
yeah, absolutely. If somebody's not listening, if I'm having a conversation with somebody and they just keep talking over me, then I don't want to even have like them to be around me, because for me, it's like if you're not going to communicate with me or you're not going to listen to me, listening is probably the number one, then there's no point in us being together. There's no
Perfect.
point in me entertaining anything just from that point there.
Well, you see, guys, that's what I mean. For everybody, it's going to be different. We all have our core principles of what's important to us. And that's what I'm saying. Like the sexual thing, and I'm glad you brought that up, is a component. It should be a key component. For me, it is, but it's like number 5. My 4 ones are those ones for long term. But yeah, we'll let Mr. Stefan wrap it up because he's moving on to the next point, which I think is super important.
And it goes vice versa. It can happen both ways, but I see it happen so much with women. And so don't trick yourself into believing you can make this work. This is why I'm saying to you, sexual incompatibility is a sign that relationship is going to fail. And you cannot overlook that, because again, it's not just about what you're willing to deal with, is can you still give him what he will need in return? Now, number 2, the second sign, early sign that your relationship will fail or will not last, is you're not able to talk to each other. All right. So, speaking about, you need to talk about the sex thing. Well, here's a huge problem that a lot of people have is getting into these relationships or while dating, you're enjoying this very superficial approach to the relationship. You guys maybe love hanging out, you're having fun. It might be you're partying all the time. It might be you watch movies together and have a bunch of sex, whatever, right? But what you're missing and overlooking is that you two are not able to sit down and talk to each other. And not simply, how's your day? What are you doing today? Which is cool. You got to do that too, right? But I'm talking about talking, going deeper with each other, being more emotionally vulnerable. Too many people are quicker to become physically naked and not emotionally naked. And my thing is, yo, like if we're trying to have a real relationship and if we're trying to have long-term success, we have to learn how to be emotionally naked, and we have to feel comfortable being emotionally naked with this specific person, because the reality is that sometimes the struggle to talk to each other can be a personal issue or it can be an issue of who you're dealing with. All right. And you got to ask yourself that, because let's be real, there are some of you who can open up to people in general, but you're struggling with this specific person. And you got to ask yourself why. And they would have to ask themselves that same question, like, what is the blockage here? For some, it may be that you feel a judgmental energy from this individual. And even though you like them and there's other great qualities about them, you can't overlook the fact that if you feel that they're very judgmental towards you or towards people in life, you're going to be in a relationship that you feel very restricted, like almost in a jail emotionally and walking on eggshells.
Wow.
Hmm. Hmm.
See, look, guys, I want to say a few things on this, and Anthea will definitely, I'm sure some ideas are running through her mind. You need to be able to talk to the person about anything and everything. You need to be vulnerable with them on emotional level before you are vulnerable with them naked. And you see, when he means talk to somebody, he means like they're actually going to listen. You're going to share parts of your life with them. Either it's, things you experienced, things you've experienced from the past, like either in your dating life or your personal life, but they just listen. They're not trying to control their narrative. They're not trying to say, well, why do you do this? Or why do you do this? But they're genuinely trying to let you in. And they're
So
just learning
important.
to listen, because a lot of times people will listen, but they want to like critique. And it's like, I don't need you to critique. I need you to listen.
Yes. Yes, Michael. Isn't that such a big thing where you're expressing, you're being vulnerable and you express, and then it's like that person has listened in a sense or taken things and then they've loaded their gun and then they've come back and they've shot it all back at you, but you this and you that, and that is just reflecting, and that's taking on board what you're saying, but actually breaking you down at the same time. So um being vulnerable with somebody and having them actually hear you and listen to you is a genuine, deep, meaningful conversation where you're both listening to one another's wants, needs, and desires, and you're both communicating that, and you're coming to an agreement within both, and then you can have that vulnerability with one another, not just one to one, one on one. Sorry, let me say that in a different way. Not just, let's say, me being vulnerable and the other person not. It's both of you coming together and being open in that sense to be able to really speak your truth and not fear. Are they going to freak out? Am I going to be walking on eggshells? Is he going to, or is she going to be like this and this if I express this? You know, that's, it's
Exactly.
not
I love that you
right.
said that, because then I don't want to talk to you then. If I know you're
Absolutely.
reactive, if I know that you're reactive, you're going to judge, you know what I mean? Or you're going to ask me like a million questions. Like, I don't mind if you ask questions, but I'm saying like ask like more of from a standpoint of like, well, why do you do this? Instead of just listening to me.
Mm, such a
And
big
that's the
thing in
thing. What
relationships.
people don't understand is when somebody tells you something, they're telling you it for a reason.
Yes. And if
They're
you
not
value
telling it
that
to hurt
person, you're going to
you.
listen, right?
Yeah, they're
You're
not
going to
telling it to
listen.
hurt you. They're not telling it to
Mm-mm,
shame you. They're telling
mm-mm.
you for a reason. But if you
Yes.
overlook it every time, oh, I hear you, but then you don't do anything,
Then you
it's like,
didn't
I'll give you
actually
a
hear
beautiful
them.
example. Exactly. You have a wife. She comes to you and says, hey, we don't go on enough dinner dates throughout the week. Can we incorporate in that in the relationship? Yeah, I hear you. But then you guys don't go on dinner dates.
Hmm.
So then clearly they heard you, but they weren't listening. And then
And they
people
don't
wonder
care.
why. Exactly. And
And they
then
don't.
people wonder why the person checked out of the relationship and left. People wonder, like, oh, damn, I lost my guy. I lost my girl. Why? Because you weren't listening.
Mm-hmm. And then you get the other side where people just stay and just like accept it, and that's where I say self-love comes into it, because if you really value you and you really have that self-love for you, you're not going to accept that. You don't accept that from anybody. Remember, like anyone you're in a relationship with, they're separate to you, so you don't have to take no BS from anybody. You know, if you the things that you are worth everything. So what you want and what you say and what you express should be taken for what it is you're saying. And if somebody's not taking it on board, they're not hearing you, they're ignoring, they're saying they hear you, but their actions are not mirroring their words, they're not aligning with that. What are you doing? Like, honestly, Stop holding on to people that's not right
Well,
for
I
you.
think you have
That's
your
not going to
answer at that
fulfill you.
point. I think you have that answer at that point that you should leave.
Yes, but people don't, Michael. This is the
Yeah.
point. People don't. They stay. They just stay because X, Y, and Z. Oh, it's been this long. Oh, we've got children. Oh, we've got this. Oh, we've got history. Yes, what the world we are. Listen, our life is going to be history. Every moment that passes by is now the past. It's now to do with the story that we have. So there's always going to be a history. Even if you've met somebody, you've only been there for a month, there's a history between you two in the sense of there's a month's worth of experiences. So staying with somebody just because you're fearing what's going to happen next. Well, fear what's happening right now, not what's going to happen next if they're not around. Fear what's going to happen to you in your life if you don't allow yourself to be fulfilled and be with the right person, right?
I agree. I agree. I really agree with you there. And that's why, as I said, like, look, if you, and I know people don't like this word, but I really don't care. If you are not willing to be in a relationship to serve, don't be in a relationship. Just don't. Because now all your intentions are going to be selfish. And I say this for a reason. Look, I believe in God personally. And when you look at it, Jesus was washing the feet of his disciples. He was willing to serve. When he came to earth, he was serving mankind. So if you are not willing to serve, don't be in a relationship. If you're selfish or you have selfish like tendencies, go work on yourself, come back, try again.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's no
Stop blaming
room.
others.
Yeah, well, because there's no room for selfishness in a relationship. You want to be selfish by yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
But if we have a connection, it's you put ego aside and we're going to serve each other. It's about the
Mm-hmm.
relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I have needs and wants, you have needs and wants, and how can we serve each other within this relationship?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll let Mr. Stefan continue on his third point, which he's hitting, and then again we'll continue the rest of the other points in another video.
That's not healthy. You know what I'm saying? The other thing might be, well, you don't feel like you can talk to them because they get angry really fast. They have a bad temper. Again, not a red flag you should be overlooking. This has to be addressed. And I have to stress that, yes, this whole video is for men and women. But I'm stressing this point right now as far as women having the temper tantrum or the temper period. Because I think sometimes when we talk about these things, we think about men being the ones who can't communicate and being overly aggressive with the way they speak. And yes, this does happen, but there are tons of women who are the same way, if not worse. So either way, man or woman, you got to pay attention to that. Is it judgmental? Is it they get mad easily? Is it that you just feel like they don't listen? All right. And here's the thing, whatever it is, any of those three things or any additional things that I may have missed, you can't really, it's hard to expose that if you don't at least try to talk. So please understand that I do not want you to scapegoat these things without even attempting to talk to this individual. You got to make sure you're doing your part to open up and be expressive. But yes, if you start noticing this person is shutting you down or creating an environment that does not allow you to feel comfortable talking to them, you have to address these issues. And if they are not corrected, you've got to let them go, because this is a very clear sign. This relationship will not.
See, he said it for us. If you've expressed and voiced your opinion on something and the behavior still continues, certain things are still happening, you have to let them go. And I want to point out something. He's not hating on women. What he's doing is pointing out a particular characteristic trait that is causing you to fail and not being able to take criticism, not being able to take correction. Saying, let's say your man comes to you and says, babe, I don't like it when you do this. Why are you going to say, well, blah, 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 or totally ignore him? He's saying it for a reason, because it's all about how does he speak to you. It's not about what he says, it's how he speaks to you. So if he says, babe, I need this in a relationship to be here with you. Okay, babe, I heard you. I'm gonna work on it. That's accountability. I'm gonna work on it. We're gonna do it. That's accountability.
Mm,
Not like, yeah, I heard you. And then they just completely block you out.
mm.
They haven't done the work. They're not willing to do the thing. They're just kind of like, meh. Like, yeah, I heard them. But the only time that they seem to wake up is when you say, I can't be with you no more. I can't do this with you no more. And then they're
And then
getting
you
mad.
watch the switch. Yeah, then you watch the
Yeah.
switch around.
Yeah. Then they're getting
For
mad and
what? For
saying,
how long though, Michael? They switch around for about a week, 2 weeks, and then go back to how they were, because they're
well,
just trying to show like I don't want to. I'm too comfortable where I am. I'm not going to leave. So I will show you that I've listened to you, and I will put this. I will put the icing on top and the cream and the cherries, and I'll make it all look like so good on the outside. And then once they get comfortable, they can only go back to how they were because they don't
agreed.
know to do anything different. And then they just go back to not listening, arguing, or being.
Agreed. I really do agree with that statement, guys. Anthea dropped out for some apparent reason. Um, but I will say I do agree with his statement on what he said. You see, it's about listening. It's really about paying attention to what your partner says when they speak to you, because you cannot get mad if they decide to leave because you decided not to listen. You need to understand that there are consequences for your behavior. You don't get to keep somebody act the same bad behavior or keep doing what you're doing after they've told you how they felt. You don't get to keep that person without the consequences. What I mean by that is them saying, I've had enough. I don't want to be here anymore. And they're telling you, hey, I told you XYZ. You haven't changed XYZ. I'm out. Clearly, you don't want to be here. Clearly, this isn't a priority to you. I wish you the best of luck and hopefully you find somebody that it is you're looking for. Um, that's what I would say when it comes to dealing with that. And Anthea's back. Um, so that's what I would say when it comes to dealing with that. Once you've expressed your opinion and they don't change their behavior, the consequence is you leave. That's the consequence for that behavior, and they can't get mad at you because you know what I've noticed. And again, I'll say this, and then we'll move on. Is you'll tell somebody to do something, they don't do it, but once you've threatened to leave, not threatened to leave, sorry, once you've decided to leave, they have no problem doing what you've asked. So that
Yeah,
means that you could have done it the whole time. It means you could have done it the whole time. You just chose not to. You
yeah.
only
You
choosing to
didn't
do
value
it
the situation.
exactly. You're only choosing to do it now because there's consequences attached to
Yes,
that. Now that you know
yes.
that they're like, oh my god, they're actually going to leave me. They're actually going to leave. Now you're like, okay, I'll finally do it. But that means that you could have did it the whole time. You were completely aware. You knew that you could have did it. You just chose not to.
Hmm. And what would you say in that situation, Michael, when they decide they're going to do it at that point? Do you give it the benefit of the doubt, and do you allow that? Do you just say, okay, I'm not going to, I'll carry on with this relationship and give it
So,
another chance? Or do you just say, well, you had all that time, and now that there's consequences, now that you want. So what do you do in that situation?
oh, I love that you answered that question. What I would do is look, we're breaking up, but come back and try again once you've realized and thought about what you did and done the work, and I can see that you've done the work. That's what I would do. I would break up with them because me staying is not going to help the situation. I'll leave. I'm not going to be angry with them. I'm not going to be frustrated. I'm going to leave. And I'll say, once you could show me that you're willing to make adjustments, because people don't like the word change, they get defensive. Once you're willing to make adjustments, and I can see that in your behavior, then we can possibly talk about getting back together. Because I know some people have the mindset of, well, once we break up, we're done. That's it. It's finished. You should have behaved off rip. But you need to understand that some people kind of need to be trained on how to be in a relationship. And I
Mm,
know that some people don't like to hear that, but some people have a bad relationship blueprint and need to be trained on how to be in one, how to
yeah.
be effective in one, and take accountability and understanding that you're not always right. It's not your job to always be right. It's your job to be heard. It's your job to be understood. And then how can you guys move forward in peace?
So I suppose you take the overall relationship to what it is and then make your decision based on that. And if it's been an amazing, amazing relationship and this is just one thing, then maybe you could continue. But if it's been multiple of things, then you could say, well, actually, I'm going to step away. And then you can prove to me that this is really what
That's
you
pretty
want.
much what I'm going
So,
to do is
yeah.
I'm going to step away and then we're going to
True.
come back and revisit it later
Mm.
because clearly there's some growth that you need to do, especially. And again, this is why I want you to speak on this 100%, and that's why we're bringing it up now, because you've experienced this. What are the symptoms of being cheated on when you carry it into a new relationship?
Oh, it's like you can. There's first of all, when someone cheats on you, the first thing that happens, I think, is you feel like, what have I done wrong?
Mm-hmm.
It's a question to yourself. You don't think, what did the other person? You go straight to yourself. So there's a lot of healing behind that, Michael, when someone cheats. So,
But like,
and
what are
if
the
you,
symptoms? And you get into a new relationship, are you not going to trust the person? Is everything going to look red flaggy to you?
yeah, you're going to be quite anxious and conscious of what's happening, and some of the things they do, you think, are you seeing somebody else? Or are you doing something? It makes you feel very, yeah, on edge and untrusty. Um, now, I don't know if there's such word as
It
untrusty,
is.
but
But let me ask you the question though: is it the other person's fault or is it yours?
I think it's a breakdown of communication in the relationship. And then
I'm gonna say
the person that
no. I'm
actually
not saying that.
cheated,
But I'm saying like if you have a new guy, and let's say you were cheated on in the past, and you've
yeah.
had somebody cheat on you, obviously you're gonna be mistrusting. You're gonna have like these things. So I'm saying in your new relationship, let's say you're very skeptical. Let's say he does something and it just kind of throws you off. Is that your problem to deal with, or is it his? Because
No, it's
you
my
haven't
problem to deal
addressed
with. No, I've got to deal
it.
with that. That's not his problem. What's that got to do with him? He's a
Mm.
completely new, fresh person. If I'm
Mm.
turning up with my past, then I shouldn't actually be in the relationship in the first place if I'm turning up with my past. And one thing that helped me, what I heard another relationship coach had said, he said, if you've been cheated on in the past and you go into a new relationship, you don't go in there not trusting that person. You go in there just trusting in general. And then if it does happen, then trust that you will know how to deal with it. But you can't walk into a relationship and start being all funny with the other person because they're not that same person. You
Mm.
have to go in there with pure trust in you, in your judgment, in what you're doing, and leave that past to rest behind you. But if it does happen, then it's you that's going to have the reaction, you that's going to have that thought process, you that's going to have that emotion behind it. So you're the one that has to learn to how to deal with things, not the other person. It's never about the other person
I
in that
love that you
sense.
said that though, because think about it. And again, I'm not trying to shame people that have been cheated on, but they need to understand, as you said, let's say you're the new guy and you're dating someone that's been cheated on, right? Having to constantly defend yourself or explain yourself to that person is exhausting for them.
Oh goodness, yes. And imagine you being in that situation and because they've been cheated on, they're constantly doing it to
Yeah.
you. And I've had that too, where I've been
I've
on the
been
other
there.
side.
I've been there.
Yeah,
It's having to constantly explain yourself because
yes,
they haven't addressed their
yes,
cheating, but then it bleeds on to you because
Yes.
you do something or just whatever that triggers them, and then you
Yes.
constantly have to always explain yourself every
Yes.
time. It's like, do I really want to
Exhausting.
sign up for this? Like, it's
Yeah.
exhausting.
It is exhausting. Do you know what? I can actually tell you specifically. Like, I would answer the phone, and oh, who's that on the phone? Or let me see. Why was you talking to them for so long? How long you known them for? It's like, whoa, listen, I'm just having a conversation, you know. So
It's
that kind of
exhausting.
thing,
Yeah,
it
like
is
it's,
so exhausting, so exhausting. So yeah,
and
you
that's
have to
why.
show up as your best self in a relationship, and you have to be the one that understands your own triggers, what's happened in your past, and you have to have come to a point where you've literally healed in those aspects. And you don't always, the thing is, Michael, it's funny because you think you've healed in a certain aspect of yourself, and then you could enter a relationship and something triggers it, and then you realize, actually, I didn't heal. But the fact that you realized it and recognized it, you can then go to your partner and say, look, as you know, I've been on this healing process, I've been working on me, and and I want to turn up the best version of me, but what's happened here has triggered something. So just so that you're aware, but I'm working on it. So, but once you voice it and that person knows about it, then at least then you're not going to them as the victim. You're not going to them in, oh, poor me, or you need to do this and you need to fix me kind of perspective. You're going saying, this is me. I'm standing in my skin, knowing that this is triggered something, but I am working on it. So if you can just bear with me while I go through this little bit, you might see a little bit of a change, or I might just be a little bit withdrawn. But if I am, it's because, and you've explained it, then you're not leaving any gaps open for your partner to have to make up their own story about what's happening, because we often do. We watch somebody else's actions or reactions or something, and we make up our own story instead of asking that person. And we have this thing where we've made up this whole scenario in our head that's actually not true, right?
And I love that you said that though, because like that's amazing. Because that's the thing. This is me, Michael White. I am not gonna want to have to constantly explain myself because you've been cheated on.
Right.
I'm not doing it.
Absolutely.
I am not doing it. Like if I have to constantly explain like what's this, what's that, like obviously to a degree, like you're gonna explain yourself to a degree. But I'm saying like when the person comes at you like red hot, no, I'm sorry. Like I'm not, because that's your wound to deal with. So look, guys,
Absolutely.
we're gonna let Stefan finish the third point. We're gonna cut it off there because we've been going for an hour and we could probably go for longer. But we're gonna let Stefan finish the third point, and then we are going to close up.
Last, because there is no successful relationship that long term that has poor communication. And please do not confuse two people staying together as an example of success. Longevity does not equal success. Success is the quality of the relationship. So I can point to people being together for 20 years, but the quality of the relationship is horrible.
We're gonna touch on that one point because it's important. Time doesn't mean jack.
Mm.
It's quality. So what he means is there a good flow of communication? Is there a good flow of understanding? Are you both on the same page? That is what's going to determine, because as he said, there's some people that have been together for 20 years, the relationship's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
So time didn't help. Time did nothing.
No, it just prolonged it.
Yeah, it prolonged it. And we talked about it in our season 2, where we openly said that time does not determine a connection. It's how much you guys talk, how much engagement is there. So this whole like time thing, oh yeah, we could have a lot of time, but our relationship could be terrible. So I just wanted to put that out there. And he's wrapping it up, and then we're going to move on to point 3.
And I can show you two people who probably can't talk to each other, but they tolerate each other for various reasons. My goal is not to help you tolerate any damn person. It's to help you have a successful, harmonious, happy, healthy relationship with an individual. So if you are not able to talk to them, you cannot sweep this under the rug. You cannot make excuses for this. It has to be corrected, or you have to let them go. Which brings me to number 3, and that is the relationship is very surface driven. So again, as I mentioned earlier, many people overlook the lack of communication, the inability to talk to each other because they're so focused on the surface of it all. Damn, they look so good, or damn, the sex is so good, or oh, I have fun with them, or oh, they have a great job, or like all these things that are very superficial. The resume is awesome, the imagery of this relationship or this potential relationship looks great, but the depth of it does not exist. The substance is not there. And so if you are too busy only playing on the surface, you're going to play yourself. Plain and simple. You've got to be able to go deeper with each other. And you got to understand this is not about, oh, well, we'll learn each other in time. Time is not the decider of learning each other. Effort and a willingness to talk, repeating that one point, a willingness to talk is the decider of learning each other. There are people who have known each other for 2 years and have lived on the surface of the relationship for 2 years, and they don't know each other as well as two individuals who've only been dating for 2 months, but went deep with each other.
Well, great point.
But you see, I love that he brought that up. It's because so many, and again, this is a guy problem. You see, their guys are literally acting like this. They're very surface driven. It's who guys are. But what should matter is, can I go deep with you? He brought up an excellent point. There's people that have been together for 2 years that can only go surface level, but you can have people that have been in a relationship for 3 months and they've gone deep. And what I mean is, like, they've talked to each other about their traumas, they've talked to each other about their pain, they've talked about all of those things. They've gone deep past the looks, because looks fade. We all know this, right? No one's going to stay young and youthful forever. It doesn't mean you're going to get old and ugly, but it's, can I go deep with you? Can we grab each other's hand and walk together?
So important, isn't it?
For me, that's like super important. Is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, just exactly what you just said. It is, and actually being able to go deep with somebody and then not to use it, because past experiences where I've been vulnerable, and then something has not gone in the direction of how I wanted it to go, and instead of being able to communicate, it then breaks down, and then they use that information I've told them where I've been vulnerable and thrown it back at me. And that is definitely a no-go. Do not do that. I think that is a big thing that a lot of people will try and do. And that's why so many people are frightened to be vulnerable, because they know if they go too vulnerable, that the other person could possibly throw that back at them later. But I think if you're in a healthy relationship and you vetted your person good and right, and you've taken that time out, then that won't happen.
I agree with you there. And that's the thing. We always have, like, yes, a person's always going to be attractive. You're not going to date someone you're not attracted to. Let's keep it 100. You're not going to do that. But it's, can we also go past it? Because what he's talking about is lustful relationships. And I've been in too many of them to count. The chemistry's there. The lust is there. But then it burns out like a candle. So then once it comes time to go deep, you can't go deep because you've seen each other more physically emotionally instead of mentally emotionally.
Yes.
So you can't go deep with them because you don't know how to. You're so used to the lust. You're so used to the bedroom fun. You don't know how to go deep. Because when it comes time to go deep, you're like, well, our relationship has been this way, so we might as well just keep going. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying is going deep means letting someone in. And if you're not ready to let someone in, stay over there. So we're going to let him finish up and then we'll finish up the podcast.
really opened up to each other, shared their true core with each other. This is what you need. And you cannot, again, overlook that. So when I see two people who are simply operating on the surface, I know this is going to fail. And let me say this. Here's the reality. I don't want to put a specific time frame on it. But just for the sake of this example, if we are 6 months in, a year in, and if I sit down and talk to you and I see this relationship is still surface driven, I already know this is done. And I say that and I make that point to highlight the fact that if you didn't even find a way to go deeper with this person in that amount of time, that means either there's nothing deeper there to even grab onto, or you're afraid of what you're going to see if you do go deeper. Like, you know damn well something's not right here. You know they're not for you, but you want to hold on to the good stuff on the surface to validate staying with this person. Because two people who have a genuine connection, two people who it's really there with each other, they automatically go deeper. It deeper pulls them.
Just, oh my goodness, Michael. He's so on point what he's saying. Oh my, I love it. I love that.
You see what he was saying there? That they automatically go deeper. But a lot of times we're
Yes.
afraid to go deeper because we know what's there. We're like, ooh, like something good's not there, but you want to stay because the relationship's so surface driven. But like as he said, when you meet somebody, you don't even have to plan to go deeper with them. It just automatically goes. Like there's sometimes you'll meet somebody and you guys just it just meshes well. It's like iron sharpening iron, and you're like, what's going on here? Like I've never felt this way before. And we're not talking about like a feeling base. We're talking about is yes, you've acknowledged that they're good looking, but like you can go deep with them without you even having to say, hey, we need to go deep. You just go deep.
And that is so powerful. I mean, I've experienced that where you can go, you really can be vulnerable, open, and you're just the deepness of it. And it's such a beautiful thing to experience, actually. And I think we were saying before, like the core things of a relationship, to be able to go deep with somebody and be vulnerable and be able to have those deep communications, I think is definitely something for
Well, look,
me.
I'm going to say something that's probably going to change your life and hopefully our audience's life. When you like somebody and they genuinely like you and you genuinely like them and it ties into going deep with them, they don't want to keep you at a distance. They don't make it hard for you to get close to them.
Yes.
Let me say that again. When somebody genuinely likes you, they don't make it difficult for you to get close to them. Vice versa. They make it very easy. And that's how comes it's able to go automatic.
And that's just like if you even look at yourself to say, when you really like somebody, you're willing and open to go and you want to communicate and you want them to be close to you. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the same with the other person. You've got to kind of look at how you're showing up to how they're showing up. And if you really like them and they're not doing the same, then you know that they don't really like you. And there's no excuses. Oh, they're
Yeah,
really busy, or, this happened, or work, or whatever it is. All of that is just an excuse.
exactly. Because they
It's
make
not
it difficult
real.
for you to get close to them. That's
Yes.
difficult.
Yes. And if you're not making it difficult to get close to them, why are you accepting them make it difficult to get close to you? And just know they're not for you,
So they've
because
checked
otherwise
out of
they
the
wouldn't.
relationship at that point. They've checked out.
Yes.
They've checked out. So we'll let Stefan finish his point and then we'll wrap up. Because this is probably one of our longest lives, but it's probably been our most juiciest one.
Yeah, it's been good.
In. It's like a undeniable force of nature that happens when two people really click like that. So when two people can be together for so long and still be surface driven, that means there's a huge disconnect in this relationship and it will inevitably fail. All right, so let's keep this moving. The fourth
Okay, guys, we will stop it right there
Mm.
on point 4. I think we covered enough. We covered a lot. Um, and I think, as I said, when it comes to dating, dating's not complicated. We make it complicated.
Yes,
That's the
mentally.
problem. We make it complicated.
Yes,
Um,
yes,
because again, coming into it, a lot of people need to understand that when a lot of people are entering in relationships, a lot of them are coming in with wounds.
yes.
They
And
haven't
just to
healed.
add, you said, sorry,
Go ahead. No, no, go ahead.
I was going to say, it's like Stefan had said, it's not the marriage that makes it foul. It's you. It's not marriage. Is it's a piece of paper. It's a ring. It's a commitment. But that's
Yeah,
not what makes it foul. It's as us as individuals that
visuals.
yeah, it's us. It's, you can't put the outside. The outside doesn't make anything. You know, the outside is what the outside is, but it's you as a person, as your thoughts, your emotions, the way you show up, the way you communicate, the way you do things, the things that you accept in your relationship that makes the difference, not the marriage or not the outside things, is what I
It's
want to
not the
say there.
time, as he said. It's the communication and the quality of the relationship that makes it work.
Yeah,
And it's like, as I said, if someone's really into you, they won't make it difficult for you to be close to them.
no,
They'll make it very easy because they want you there. Your energy, who you are, is so captivating that they can't be away from it.
that's right. That's right.
And we're not talking about on a lust type level. We're talking about them wanting to go deep with you. Them
Mm,
saying, "Well, yeah, they're very beautiful, but we're gonna get old. But I could do 50 years with this person.
mm.
I could do 30 years with them." That's what it
So
comes down to, is looking at them and being able to say, "Hey, I could do 30 years because you know what he said." And I'm glad that we covered it and redid this video a third time, because I've been in a lot of service driven relationships. And then when it came time for us to go deep, it was never automatic, because at that point
mm,
it's like, well, how do we even do that?
mm.
But there's been people in my life where we didn't even have to talk about going deep. We just went deep.
And they're the such
And
as
they were
they're
like
so
the
nice.
best people
Yes.
to be in a life with, to be friends with, to date. We just went deep.
Mm.
So I really want you guys to think about everything we spoke about today. We redid this for a third time for a special reason, but as you guys can see, you guys got a bunch of golden nuggets, and a bunch of great quality. So we will see you guys. You'll see Anthea on Friday, but we have
Yes.
a bunch of new topics lined up for next week. But you'll see Anthea and a bunch of four lovely ladies on Friday, which you guys can go over a bunch of topics. So I'm really looking
Yes.
forward to that. And it's going to be called Dating After Your 40s. And the reason why we decided to do that one with a panel of women is because obviously our audience is young, mature, whatever, right? So for a lot of women, they want to know how to date after their 40s. What are the pros and cons of dating after your 40s? And then it can also help men as well understand dating a woman in her 40s, because the dynamic's different compared to dating a woman in her 20s, compared to
Yeah.
dating her in her 30s. So, you know what I mean? It's going to be a very, very interesting conversation to hear four lovely ladies speak about the subject.
Yeah, I'm proper excited about this, and I'm really thankful for the ladies that are joining me on the panel on Friday. And I'd love everybody to tune in. Well, not everyone, but everyone who it means something to tune in, to actually speak about what it's like. And it is a huge difference, like Michael just said, you know. So I'm really excited about going deep into this and really going into what the difference is, because we speak a lot about in a relationship where a man will be looking, or a woman, either which one, will be looking for somebody to build a family with, and and have that family.
Sorry, guys, her internet dropped again, but it's all good, man. It's all in love. The point was is she's gonna talk about with her four girlfriends what it's like to date in your 40s, what the pros and cons are, how to go about it, understanding what the men even want at 40. You see what I'm saying? That's what the trade off is, because you will have people dating in their 40s, and it's a lot more difficult. Dating's not easier when you get older, it gets a lot more difficult. It just depends. If I say it, people will get mad, but I'll say it anyways. For men, it gets a lot easier. For women, it definitely gets a little harder. So they're going to discuss all those topics. That will be on Friday. So tune in for that. And we will speak soon. You will see me back here next week, but we will speak soon.